Frieza slowly wakes up inside his father's mothership. He had just been operated upon by the best scientist in the Frieza Force and given new life through cybernetics. His father, King Cold, stands tall before his son, demanding to know just who was responsible for this. In an instant, as Frieza tried to explain the shine of the Super Saiyan, he was brought back to that time. He could see the anger in Goku's eyes so clearly. Frieza clenched the operating table, breaking it apart. Was this anger or fear? King Cold tried to get his son to calm down, but nothing was getting through. Over the course of the next year, King Cold would attempt to question Frieza on his demise, but Frieza could barely make it through. Cold wanted revenge. Frieza wanted to run. This caused friction between the two, which hadn't been felt since Frieza was a child. Cold was an evil ruler, but an even worse father. King Cold demanded that Frieza face his fears or be expelled from the throne of the Frieza Force. Without much of a choice, Frieza gulped and agreed to go to Earth in search for the Super Saiyan. He would destroy him and that planet. But even as Frieza said those words, he felt fear like no other. Thus, the Emperor set course to Earth with his father. On Earth, the Z-Fighters awaited their arrival, having felt their ki from miles and miles away. But once they arrived, their scouters could barely detect anyone worthwhile. That was until a strange boy with a sword showed up, warning them to either leave or die. With a pathetic power level of 5, Frieza left him off, until he made quick work of his soldiers. Frieza's heart began to pound, and fired a blast at the youth. But when he tanked the attack by transforming into a Super Saiyan, Frieza once again saw those same eyes. He couldn't help but fall to his knees, and begging to be taken away from there. King Cold yelled at his son to attack. Trunks rushed in at Frieza, attacking him furiously. The aura burned, just like it had on Namek. Disappointed by his son's cries, Cold wrote him off as another failure, promising to return to the planet and destroy it someday. The ship began to leave, just as Trunks jumped over Frieza with his sword out, striking vertically across Frieza's body, but the attack never connected. The warrior's eyes widened as he saw Son Goku, also a Super Saiyan, stopping the sword with a single finger. "Don't you see? He's crying for mercy. I may have made this mistake before, but killing a being who's already given up is no way to win a match." "But that monster! You..." "Just tell me who you are. Frieza, I'll deal with you soon enough." From behind some rocks, Vegeta and the rest of the Z-Fighters couldn't believe that Goku had just saved that monster from sure destruction. Vegeta wanted to approach and kill the monster, but he wasn't sure if he was strong enough yet, nor did he want to deal with Kakarot in that Super Saiyan form. As Goku and Trunks talked for a little bit further away, Frieza caught his breath by leaning against a rock. He was quite hurt from Trunks' attacks, but at least he was alive. He could just barely overhear their conversation, something about two androids. He didn't care. He didn't know how he would escape without his father, and he couldn't just kill someone and steal a ship now. He could only imagine the terrible things Goku would do to him for returning. Goku finished talking to Trunks, who then left after glancing at Frieza. Goku went on to explain everything about the androids to the Z-Fighters, hugged his son, and quickly turned to Frieza.
"Oh, you're gonna get it now. You shouldn't have come back while Goku's around."
Goku took one final step towards Frieza, who gulped and closed his eyes. "Hey, need a warm meal? Chi-Chi makes the best Pautsu barbecue." Frieza opened his eyes and saw not only a surprised face of the fighters, but Goku extending his hand out to him. He was afraid, sure, but the eyes Goku had at that moment were cheerful, happy to be back home. There was something infectious about it, and Frieza hated it. He slapped the hand away and tried to fly, but his stomach growled before he could even take 3 steps forward. Slowly, he turned to the curious Goku. Frieza couldn't go anywhere else, so at least he'd take the food. Chi-Chi hugged Goku tightly when he returned home, only to run back inside when she saw Frieza. Gohan was angrily looking at him, pure hatred in his eyes. While Piccolo floated over the house, he refused to go anywhere until Frieza was away from Gohan. Chi-Chi laughed nervously, asking Goku if Frieza was a friend, before getting a quick rundown of the Namek conflicts between bites. Chi-Chi was even more terrified. Frieza did admit to himself that this was the best food he'd had, but even after the meal, while him and Goku stared each other down outside, the hatred for this man was different. It wasn't a powerful Super Saiyan he was in front of. That was a father who treated his son with love and cared for his wife. It was strange. Frieza had never seen a family quite like this. Goku asked Frieza what he wanted from them, and Frieza said that he was going to kill Goku and destroy Earth. Goku dared Frieza to try it, and he fired a death beam that would have surely killed any other fighter. Goku stopped it with a single finger, just as he had the sword. The difference between Frieza and Goku had grown even more. Goku told Frieza that there was something different about him, and that he wants him out of Earth as soon as possible. But until Bulma repaired Goku's pod, which crashed where Goku was supposed to land after he teleported to Earth, he could stay with them for now. Goku returned inside, but Frieza stayed at the foot of the water. He'd rather sleep outside than in that monkey's home. Once morning came, he was woken up by Goku training. Goku asked if he wanted to be his sparring partner, and Frieza laughed. No way he was going to be a training dummy. But as he watched Goku train, he couldn't help but itch for an exciting battle again. This time it wasn't fear but anticipation. Frieza would join Goku on a handful of days while training, and though he did try to kill the Saiyan, Goku really did just take this as training. Eventually the ship was finished and Frieza was about to leave. Piccolo and Gohan were angrily waiting his departure, but Goku just had a smirk. Frieza simply nodded and said,
Good luck with those androids. I'm sure you'll need it.
Frieza left Earth for many years, but had no home to return to, as when he tried to return to the Frieza Force, King Cold refused to allow him to regain the throne until he killed Goku and the other Saiyan that attacked him. Frieza knew that he wasn't going to be able to do that. He wandered around the universe, often taking over planets for himself or killing, but those pastimes he used to have felt boring now. He had felt true excitement during the battles at Namek, and he was afraid that he'd never get that back. So, when 3 years went by, he remembered the androids. Frieza boarded his ship and headed towards Earth, closing in, and his scouter instantly began to pick up strange, powerful signals, completely unreadable. It didn't take long before the scouter exploded. In the battlefield, Vegeta was fighting off Semi-Perfect Cell as he hunted for Android 18. Vegeta was clearly stronger, and he allowed Cell to approach her, but just as he was about to absorb 18, he was sent flying into a mountain. Frieza appeared before 18, having kicked Semi-Perfect Cell away. He smirked, saying that he didn't know who this was, but that ugly monster had to be an android. No way nature would create something so ugly. Vegeta cursed at Frieza, asking what he was doing there. Frieza said that he knew those androids were coming, and he had to prove just how much stronger he was than them. Surprising everyone, Frieza really had gotten stronger. Those few days of training with Goku, having to live alone and fight individuals, may not have been hard training, but it was enough to push him far above where he used to be. Vegeta laughed, explaining that if he was a true warrior, he would let Cell absorb 18 as well. But Frieza said he knew better than to allow transformations to happen, and he rushed in to fight Cell. He was doing well, even if Cell was slightly above him. This gave 18 some time to run away with 16, but Vegeta got in the way, causing a match between himself and the taller android. Trunks was confused. This was a very strange timeline, and to his own surprise, he found himself fighting alongside Frieza, despite him yelling at Trunks to get away, and that this was his battle. The two soon fell as a blast knocked them down. Vegeta was holding 18 by the face, while 16 laid on the ground defeated. Vegeta threw 18 at Cell, who transformed into his final form. Vegeta, Frieza, and Trunks no longer stood a chance against the monster, with Cell commenting on how amusing it was to watch Frieza flail about with the prince. Cell wouldn't kill them, and would rather announce the Cell Games. Vegeta was going to kill Frieza as soon as Cell left, but Trunks told his father that Frieza helped them in the fight, unlike him. Frieza scoffed. He wasn't on either of their side. He was just there to enjoy the battle against the androids, asking where Goku was. All of them would go up to Kami's lookout, even though Dende tried to stop Frieza multiple times from coming up. Goku insisted that he'd let him in. Frieza was instantly surprised to see Goku as a Super Saiyan. He had his fears return, but his eyes focused in and realized that he was smiling. Strange, yeah, this was a completely different Super Saiyan than the one he met on Namek. Goku asked Frieza why he was there, and he once again said he was going to face the androids, even though the rest still wanted him out of there ASAP. Frieza promised that once he was done with them, Goku was next. Frieza would spend the next 10 days of peace with Goku once more. Even though it confused him why they weren't training, he did see them at peace, which was weird for him. Frieza insisted on battling Goku. He agreed a few times, with even Piccolo and Gohan joining in. Frieza improved some throughout it, worrying Gohan. What if he could get too strong for them? What if he stopped fearing Super Saiyan? They needed to end him. He told this to Piccolo, but his master sighed. He had those same thoughts about Frieza when he first arrived, but realized something. Piccolo himself was the worst enemy they had ever faced. He too killed Krillin, but Gohan changed him. Perhaps Goku had learned something from his son. Gohan curiously looked at Frieza and Goku enjoying their matches. Maybe he was right.
Hey kids, don't go away. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying the video thus far. If you like this sort of content, want to see more, and support the channel, then consider becoming a Patreon. There, you can help support the channel through various tiers while getting some perks of your own. As a Patreon, you will be helping improve the videos, get them out faster, fund the awesome thumbnails, editing, and much more. Overall, this is the best way to ensure that I can keep providing you guys with awesome Dragon Ball content. Plus, you get some neat perks, like an extra discussion video every other week, early access to videos such as this one, and behind-the-scenes content. So be sure to go to patreon.com/Smugstick and consider supporting the channel. Thank you to all the current patrons for your support, and let's get back into the story.
And now back to our show.
The day of the Cell games arrived, and just like in the original, Goku gives off an impressive match against Cell. Even so, he gives up and steps out of the ring, but instead of calling on Gohan, he calls on Frieza to fight up next. Everyone yells at Goku about this, but Goku says that Frieza came all the way from space to fight the androids. He had to at least have a match. Frieza laughed, telling the rest that there was no need for anyone else to participate now. Piccolo whispered to Goku if he thought Frieza could win, and Goku replied that this fight wasn't about winning, it was about proving something to the rest of the Z fighters. Either way, he knew he had an ace in the hole afterwards.
I can't believe you've teamed up with these monkeys.
You not only stole my cells, but also my dialogue.
The two clashed, causing waves of energy to erupt. Frieza had improved significantly since their last match, and Cell was happy, but couldn't believe that Frieza would come out of this victorious. Slowly over time, Frieza began to get worn out by Cell, while he continued to regenerate. Cell was impatient, flying up and preparing a Kamehameha. He said if no one else can challenge him, then he would just simply destroy Earth. Everyone looked at Goku to jump in and stop it, but he just smiled. Frieza caught the blast as it came down. He couldn't hold on for much longer. Goku was getting nervous, and Trunks yelled at him to do something, but it was Gohan who started to yell Frieza's name in support, telling him that he can do it. Frieza was surprised, everyone was, but they all cheered alongside him. Frieza put everything he had into pushing it back, just barely managing to keep it from making contact with Earth and diverting it off into a far-off star. Frieza was left unconscious, and Krillin asked Goku why he did that. He could have just let Earth be destroyed and still would have survived. Goku just looked at Krillin and raised an eyebrow. Krillin could not believe Goku's ability to make allies. With that, the next match was Gohan vs Cell. Frieza knew it. Goku was using Gohan just like his father had used him. He knew a family like Goku seemed too good to be true. The fight was great, but it was clear to Cell that Gohan needed a push, creating Cell Juniors to deal with the Z fighters. Frieza didn't have a good time, and swore to kill Cell personally someday. Like in the original timeline, Gohan unleashes Super Saiyan 2 after 16's death, with Frieza once again feeling the way he did back on Namek, and realized how easily he could have ended up in that same spot. He could have been like Cell.
That power, that glow, it's beyond the Super Saiyan I battled.
You should really stop underestimating us Saiyans, Frieza. We will keep on surprising you. But once Goku was forced to teleport Cell away in the sacrifice, Frieza saw the final message he had for Gohan. He couldn't help but think back to his father. He would never say something like that to him. Frieza understood. Goku pushing Gohan to fight Cell wasn't out of a need to create a weapon, like King Cold had done to him. It was a belief that his son could be greater. When Cell returned, Frieza did the unthinkable, stopping the death beam meant for Trunks with his very own.
Consider this payback for not killing me when we first met. What? You didn't think I'd know what he was going to do? He has my cells too, you know. Killing you would have been my first instinct.
The fight continued with a Kamehameha struggle where Cell seemed to be winning until Vegeta, Trunks, and Frieza all fired their attacks at Cell. Frieza, in his mind, cheered for Gohan, and his cheers were right, as Cell was defeated, saving the world. And as the sky opened up, Frieza couldn't help but wonder if Goku saw that. It was a strange feeling. At the lookout, Yamcha commented on how they shouldn't have Frieza around while they made wishes. But Frieza scoffed. He didn't want immortality anymore. It would take away from a good fight. He just wished to be a little bit taller. They tried to wish for Goku back, but he explained that he was a magnet for evil, which everyone stared at Frieza for. Frieza was a little disappointed to hear that, but he was probably right. He hoped that one day he'd meet Goku again for a rematch. Frieza stayed for just a little bit longer, and during that time, Trunks and himself discussed discuss what happened. Frieza was sad to know that in the future Goku killed him, but glad that the timeline changed for him this time. Bulma made some upgrades for Frieza, as his cybernetics were damaged. She said making him look normal again would take some time and Frieza didn't want to stay long. But Bulma did change something, marking Frieza's chest plate with something Trunks suggested: hope. Frieza thought it was ridiculous, but it wouldn't come off, so he left it. He made sure to leave behind some resources for Chi-Chi as a thanks for Goku not killing him, but promised to return and face off against Gohan one day. Frieza returned to outer space and decided to finally rebel against his father. Frieza said that he was the rightful ruler. There was a small altercation, but Frieza couldn't bring himself to kill his father. Instead, he took members of the Force who agreed with him. There was a schism, with half of the Force choosing to remain with Cold. Didn't matter. Frieza swore to end his reign one day, but from now, 7 years passed on slowly. Frieza continued to leave more and more planets alone. He didn't save them, but he had stopped taking them over. He did have to face his father multiple times, gaining ground from him. But one day, as he was kicking his father off a planet, he realized he was much stronger than before and had a weird marking on his forehead. As they fought, Frieza asked just what they had done to get stronger, but from the shadows, two figures appeared: Dabura and Babidi. Frieza's eyes widened as his father said that they would be coming for Earth themselves. He tried to battle, but Dabura was stronger than he expected, with a power similar to Cell's. He could have possibly beaten him, as he got a little stronger since the Cell games. But something strange was going on. The anger he felt was swelling up as Babidi whispered how he knew Frieza wanted to return to his old ways. A dark M formed on his forehead as Frieza gave in. As normal, the Z fighters gather for the tournament alongside Goku, who is on Earth for a day. But things are diverted once they are forced to follow Shin and Kibito to the site of Babidi's ship. Goku and even Gohan and Piccolo were surprised to see him with them. Goku asked what he was doing there, but Shin said not to worry, that he could have easily defeated Frieza, but Vegeta shook his head. This Frieza was different from the one he knew. After Kibito's death, the fighters were forced to make their way through not only Pui Pui and Yakon, but many more, in the form of King Cold's soldiers. Once they arrived to the 3rd floor, it was not Dabura who awaited, but Frieza. He had insisted on participating in this, as he was anxious to fight Goku. Goku pleaded with him to return to them, but Vegeta stepped up to the bat against him. The fight was intense and more difficult than the fight against Dabura in the original story. Frieza's power had become insane, but Vegeta could just as well handle himself. The fight ended with Frieza overwhelming Vegeta to the point where Goku had to step between the two and started to say how he had to stop, that he even saved Earth once. Vegeta was at a crossroads. On one hand, all he wanted was to face off against Goku once more, but on the other, the chance to finally defeat Frieza was too enticing. He began to yell at Kakarot and Frieza, but Shin argued that there was no time for this, telling Babidi that they wanted to continue down. But Buu's Kili was nearing its max, ready to be revived. Even so, he saw value in taking over the prince, as a dark M was carved on his forehead. Majin and Vegeta stared down at Kakarot, with Babidi whispering to him that he knows he wants to kill this man. But Vegeta opened up his aura, pushing everyone back. Goku's eyes widened as Vegeta took steps towards Frieza.
If I face Kakarot, it would only be after I kill you, Frieza.
Babidi couldn't believe it. Vegeta was disobeying him. He didn't want to have two of his strongest fighters defeat each other. Without much of a choice, he set Dabura free to confront Vegeta as well. From behind him, King Cold asked Babidi if he was sure that this was a good idea, with Babidi simply shushing him. The fight began, with Goku joining Vegeta against Frieza and Dabura, while Gohan and Kaioshin tried to reach Babidi after being teleported to the desert. It was a race to the finish. The Super Saiyans had a great advantage against the Majins, but it wasn't a complete wash. In an attempt to distract Goku and Vegeta, Babidi ordered King Cold to attack, along with his remaining forces. Frieza told his father that he didn't need his help, but Cold argued otherwise. Goku asked Frieza how he could team up with his father after everything he went through. Not only that, but he was now under the control of another tyrannical ruler, destined to always be behind Majin Buu if he were to be revived. Was this what he really wanted? Frieza knew Goku was right, but Vegeta wouldn't give him time to think. Dabura tried to spit on Vegeta, but only got his glove, which he took off. Vegeta kept on attacking Frieza while Goku tried to get him to reason. There was so much going on, Goku simply exploded his ki. A huge power was felt as in order to get everyone off to stop fighting, Goku finally showed off his Super Saiyan 3.
I can't keep this up for long. I'm sorry, Vegeta, but your personal vendetta has to wait. Frieza, Vegeta, both of you, fight Babbidi's control. We can't allow him to doom the universe.
Vegeta tried to argue, screaming at Kakarot about Super Saiyan 3, but Goku simply brought up Bulma and Trunks, and how they would be killed too along the way. Vegeta finally stood down, as Frieza looked at his father. In a moment of anger, he pulled his arm back, as Shin and Goku both yelled at him to stop. It was too late. Seeing his father standing over him like that made him snap, and Frieza pierced through his father's chest with a death beam. That was it. That was the last bit of Ki needed as Majin Buu's egg began to shake and explode in Ki, a huge cloud steaming out of it. The power was unbelievable, and without wasting much time, his aura expanded, blasting Dabura, Gohan, and everyone else out of the way. Gohan and Shin were lost in combat, as Buu turned Dabura into a cookie, and many other soldiers as well, while some fled. Majin Buu danced about, and Goku simply rushed at him. He had no other option but to battle the monster, but he was worried. Super Saiyan 3 couldn't be maintained for long. Even so, he wasn't going full out. He had to gauge the monster's power first, but Vegeta, even with his pride hurt from the reveal of Super Saiyan 3, wasn't about to let Goku have all the fun, fighting alongside him. Piccolo and Krillin, freed from Dabura's magic, entered to watch the fight as well. Frieza was distraught at the realization of the difference in power between himself, Buu, and Goku.
You see why now, don't you, Frieza? Why I warned you that there was only two beings you should never face, one of them being Majin Buu. But don't worry, death comes easy.
As he said this, Majin Buu steamed out and fired a chocolate beam at Goku and Vegeta. They both dodged it, and it was heading straight towards Frieza. Without even thinking, Frieza whipped his tail to his father, throwing him at the blast.
Yes, considerably.
The Emperor walked forward, stepping over the cookie, which used to be his father. Goku was worried. Not going all out at first had proven to be a mistake, and it was tiring him out. It was obvious to Vegeta that Super Saiyan 3 was not meant to last this long. If Goku had to leave because of it, surely Earth would be doomed. As they fought, Vegeta yelled at Kakarot to get out of there, saying that he would take care of Majin Buu. Goku knew Vegeta couldn't do it, but Vegeta smirked, telling Kakarot that if Buu does indeed survive, then Super Saiyan 3 would be needed, more than ever. As he explained this, Goten and Trunks arrived at the battlefield, crashing the fight, with Goku and Vegeta yelling at them, but they just weren't listening. Thinking quickly, Vegeta saw the hurt body of Kaioshin on the ground. He told his son to save him, that he was someone above even King Kai. Didn't he want to be a hero? Vegeta ruffled his son's hair as he continued to battle Buu. Goku grabbed Goten as Trunks grabbed Kaioshin. Flying away, Goku asked Piccolo where Gohan was, but Piccolo had no answers. Frieza instantly turned back, telling them that Vegeta can't hold back his move for much longer. Frieza could likely survive this attack. They needed to get away. He would find Gohan. Piccolo balled a fist, but he knew that Frieza was right. He nodded and headed towards the lookout. As Vegeta gave his final speech, Frieza spotted Gohan near the crater Buu had created, but Vegeta was already beginning his explosion. It was catching up quickly. He protected Gohan as much as he could, carrying him in a telekinetic ball. The two were propelled outwards by the blast, but Gohan was safe. Frieza was severely hurt but alive. He sighed, realizing that he could no longer sense Vegeta's ki. Wait, he could sense ki? He then felt Buu's ki quickly rebuilding itself. In an instant, and afraid, he grabs Gohan and burst towards the lookout. Dende healed the team, as Bulma suggested having the Dragon Balls ready, and while Goku agreed, it was far too dangerous to roam around. Instead, he focused on teaching the kids the fusion dance. Kaioshin said that, though the dance was a good idea, he believed that Gohan would be a better choice for it. Goku tells Kaioshin that he doesn't want to be the one to save Earth again, but agrees that Gohan has much more potential than himself. Shin thusly takes Gohan to the Kaioshin realm to train him along with the Sea Sword. Frieza is impatient, but knows that he cannot stand up against Buu. Eventually, it is time for Goku to return to the other world, after showing the kids Super Saiyan 3 one final time. Frieza takes Krillin's place in showing the kids the fusion dance along with Piccolo. But while Frieza continued to feel Buu flying about, he couldn't help but be bothered by something: Babidi. He controlled and used him as a weapon. He wasn't going to let that stand. Without speaking to anyone, he left the lookout to find Majin Buu. Babidi laughed when he saw him. He wanted to come back, huh? Too bad. Majin Buu would kill him, but Frieza had a plan. He explained to Majin Buu that the two of them weren't too different. He too had a father who controlled him as a weapon, even though Frieza himself was much stronger.
And you know what I did to him, Buu?
Boo?
I killed him. Food for thought.
Frieza flew away slowly as he heard Babidi scream at Buu until there was a punch and Babidi was quiet. Frieza returned to the lookout with one less worry. That's where he would find out about the time chamber. Mr. Satan eventually befriends Majin Buu until the savagery of men forces him to release Grey Buu and become Super Buu. But Super Buu's wrath would extend to the lookout, where he would kill most of humanity. Frieza requested that Piccolo allow him in the time chamber as well, while the kids practiced the dance. Piccolo was reluctant, but agreed. He had helped them practice the dance. He could watch over them while in there. Meanwhile, Piccolo distracted Super Buu. So, some time passed, until Super Buu arrived at the time chamber door, and as Piccolo slowly opened it, his eyes widened. Goten and Trunks laid on the ground, tired, hurt, but smiling, giving the person in front of them a thumbs up. Super Buu tilted his head. He had seen this man before, and he wasn't that powerful last time he checked. Piccolo asked what the hell was going on, and Frieza explained. Goten and Trunks said they were okay, and proclaimed just how cool Frieza was. They had no idea he was the Emperor, and above that, they had no idea he was the one to teach their parents how to turn into Super Saiyans. Piccolo couldn't believe it, face-palming, but hoped that Frieza knew what he was doing.
The kids' fusion proved to be powerful, but I was still able to defeat it over time. They wanted to be heroes, and they were.
With their help, Frieza trained and gained an immense amount of power. It had only been a few days, but that was more than enough to burst Frieza beyond even Gotenks. Without further ado, Buu and Frieza rushed towards one another. The fight was intense, with Frieza being the challenge Super Buu wanted all along. But his regeneration and unpredictable moves were strange. Frieza had never fought anyone like this before. Piccolo realized this and yelled at the kids to fuse. Frieza started to argue that he didn't need any help. But mid-argument, Piccolo told Frieza to watch out as Super Buu's pink slime jumped at Frieza, completely swallowing him. Gotenks, who had just been fused into, couldn't believe the power. Frieza had just learned to sense ki and didn't feel Buu sneaking up on him. Piccolo cursed, knowing that they were doomed, destroying the time chamber door. But this Super Buu was far smarter, thanks to having absorbed Frieza. He smirked at Piccolo as he slowly approached him. Gotenks rushed in, but he was simply caught by the face, his hand engulfing him and dragging him within. Piccolo fought valiantly against Super Buu, but it was to no use. Soon enough, he too was absorbed. Now Buu, with Frieza as his main absorbee, screamed so loud that he not only burst through the time chamber's bindings, but nearly destroyed the lookout with that scream. The Z fighters didn't stand a chance. None of them did. Super Buu was out of the chamber so much sooner than in the original story, and Gohan's ritual wasn't finished yet. Goku was shaking. He didn't know what to do. He had to do something, but it was too late. Super Buu, after speeding through Earth looking for chocolate, simply destroyed the planet. Gohan felt all those souls die, and Goku nearly shed a tear, but there was no time. Goku perked up, feeling something. Super Buu had detected them. He was coming to the Kaioshin realm. In a flash, a woof of air was felt from behind. Goku's eyes widened as he got in his defensive position, but it wasn't Super Buu. It was Vegeta. Uranai Baba was going to take him to Earth and was arguing with King Yama about it, but as soon as Earth was destroyed, he realized they didn't have a choice. She apologized profusely to Shin, but there was nowhere else he could take him. Goku cheered, greeting Vegeta, but that he doesn't know if they even stand a chance with him. The old Kaioshin intervenes mid-ritual, telling Goku that they still had one last option, but he didn't get a chance to explain. Super Buu finally located them, teleporting in. He smirked, tilting his head to the side. Goku told the old Kai to continue the ritual as he burst into Super Saiyan 3 to fight the monster. He was no longer capable of beating Buu. This was just buying them time. He smirked at Vegeta, telling him thanks for helping the others escape not long ago. As soon as the ritual was finished, both Goku and Buu looked back. It was impressive, but unlike the original story, this wasn't the hope they needed. Goku was worried. He could sense that Buu was still stronger. The old Kai handed his Potara to Gohan and Vegeta, while Goku kept on fighting, not explaining but telling them to just place them on opposite ears. Boom. There was a huge explosion of power as Goku was dragged inside of Buu, but the fusion flashed forward, sinking his hand into Buu and grabbing Goku out. Vegeta was born, and he stopped at nothing to save his allies. He pulled his arm back, then over his head, firing a final Masenko. The monster was powerful, and still fared a little better than Super Buu did against Vegito. It seemed like it was going to kill Buu, but just like Gohan and Vegeta in the original story, the fighter wants to make his enemies suffer. This much toying around worried Goku, who suddenly rushed in. Vegeta complained, but Goku had a plan. They couldn't afford to have him get absorbed and be the one to save everyone from within Buu. After all, he could then just kill everyone in the realm, Goku included. Goku had to be the one to do it. Utilizing his barrier, he taunted Buu until he was absorbed. Vegeta wasn't aware of the plan, and he kept on fighting Buu. But inside, Goku continued to pull the various fighters from within him. With each one, he became weaker and weaker, to the point where it was sure that a blast from the fusion would kill him. But just as he was going to end it all, Goku rushed outside of the body with everyone as the fusion undid itself. They were terrified of what Buu would do next, but to their surprise, he instead became small, and Goku appeared along with everyone, asking Shin to heal them all for this final battle. He knew Buu wasn't done just yet. Slowly, they woke up, only to see the giant orb of ki created by Kid Buu above them. Frieza stood alongside Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, and Piccolo, his enemies from the Namek conflict, now standing tall against their greatest enemy yet. Kid Buu fired a ki ball, while Goku fired a Kamehameha, Vegeta a Final Flash, Gohan a Masenko, and Frieza a Death Beam. The kids too, and even Fat Buu blasted the ki ball, until ultimately exploding it, and sent them all flying back. Vegeta knew they would need more than this to completely vaporize Buu. He suggested the Genki Dama, but Frieza laughed. That wasn't even capable of killing him. Goku agreed with him. There weren't enough people around to share their energy. Vegeta asked what other options they had, and Piccolo had one idea: Namek. They could use those Dragon Balls. Piccolo, of course, is unaware that the Dragon Balls have been upgraded, so he instead suggested on restoring Earth and reviving Dende, so the Earth's Dragon Balls could then be restored as well. Shin and the old Kai traveled to Namek, where Murray revealed that they had indeed collected the Dragon Balls and even upgraded them. Thus, humanity and Earth were revived. Goku began to create the Spirit Bomb, while everyone else took on Buu, but with Mr. Satan missing from the action, the amount of energy was not the same, until Frieza gave his own Genki. This was a huge boost. He had actually refused to give energy at first, but put his pride aside. Goku launched the Genki Dama as the Sea Fighters held Buu down. It seemed like it was finally going to be over, but Buu opened his aura and jumped over the Spirit Bomb. Frieza's eyes widened as the Genki Dama made its way towards him. He felt his heart drop as he was brought back to the time where he too came face to face with that terrifying technique. He had to run, but he was frozen in place.
Frieza! You have to bounce it back, damn it! I hate to admit it, you can bounce it back!
Frieza snapped out of it. Vegeta had put his trust in him, just like when Vegeta had attacked Earth and Gohan bounced the Spirit Bomb towards him. Because of his pure heart, Vegeta believed that Frieza had changed enough to be able to do the same. He didn't care if he would get hurt. He had to do this. That bastard absorbed him, and he would never let that happen again. Frieza put out his arms, and though it did burn him some, proving that his heart may not have been completely pure, this Spirit Bomb shot right back at Buu. Kid Buu turned around to stop the ball dead on his tracks, but he was done for. All the fighters began to blast him from behind. He couldn't hold on for much longer. Frieza was the last nail in the coffin, as with his final bit of energy, he flew up to the sky and fired a death ball. Kid Buu was crushed between the two and disappeared into nothingness as the balls crashed and exploded. It was over. Finally over. The team would debate about what to do with Fat Buu, but Goku admitted that he really did help in the fight, and even shared Genki. They all cheered, and some even hugged, but Frieza was a little grossed out. There was something in the back of his head, a fear that he felt while looking at the Spirit Bomb. It felt like to him, he really did never get over the fear of Super Saiyan. He just wanted to leave that damn planet and take off into space. There was so much change going on, it was strange for him. But Goku slowly approached the alien, simply saying thank you. Frieza smirked, saying that their fight will come soon enough. He better find a way to return to life, like Vegeta had. Goku was surprised. He didn't even realize that Vegeta too had been revived through the wish. The old Kai would gift Goku his life as a thank you. Goten and Trunks were disappointed to find out that Frieza was leaving, as they wanted to hear more of his stories. But with that, a few years went by. The next challenge our heroes faced was Abo and Kado, where they met Tarble. The soldiers were compared to Frieza, but Vegeta laughed it off. Frieza was so far ahead of them. Eventually, Beerus, the god of destruction, would appear. Frieza was present at Bulma's party, having been personally invited. He gifted her with a planet, but she told him that it wasn't necessary. Beerus chastised Frieza, asking him why he left his position as one of his assigned planet destroyers. Frieza tried to stay as far away from him as possible, but as he couldn't sense his ki, Frieza thought that maybe he was actually stronger than him by now. He was very wrong, however, and soon found himself face first into the cake. He swore to eventually surpass Beerus, and the fact was that he really had been training for that. He wanted to ensure his place on top. Not to rule, but to prove a point. He had been training on his own, but just a little bit, developing a transformation. The perfect opportunity for him appeared when Sorbet gathered the Dragon Balls, only to find out that Frieza was still alive. Wishing to find where he was, he and the remaining Frieza force located Frieza and asked him just what he had been doing. They all thought he was dead. It was time for him to return to the throne. Tagoma was unsure of him. He made a comment saying that the old Frieza really was dead if he had given up on his empire. Frieza killed him in an instant. His resolve was shaken. Was Tagoma right? Had he gone soft? He still saw Vegeta and Goku as enemies, people to rise above, but the power he saw Goku obtain during the Beerus attack was unprecedented. The form he had been working towards, that was the answer. Thus, Frieza arrived on Earth with Sorbet and his forces. He doesn't destroy a city, but he does release his men, causing the Sea Fighters to arrive and stop them. Gohan asks just why he's doing all of this. After all, they've been allies before. But Frieza didn't answer, simply attacking Gohan and the rest. They were all easily defeated. Gohan couldn't believe it, but he knew Frieza was actually stronger than this. It was like he was holding back. Before he could say anything, Frieza rushed towards him, grabbed him by the neck, telling him to call forth his father and Vegeta. Gohan realized what was going on. Frieza didn't want to take over Earth. He wanted to finally defeat Goku and Vegeta. Without much of a choice, he did as told, powering up in order to draw attention to Earth. Goku and Vegeta showed up soon enough, and Frieza smirked. Goku asked what this was about.
Isn't it obvious? It was time to return to my old ways. Time to return to the throne.
Goku couldn't believe it for a second. But he couldn't allow Frieza to continue beating on his friends either. The Emperor claimed to have finally found a way to go above and beyond the Super Saiyans, transforming to show off his new form, Golden Frieza. The golden glow represented that of Super Saiyan, the form which defeated him back on Namek, promising to himself to never be afraid of that glow again. The battle began, with Goku being the first to step up to the challenge, utilizing this new Super Saiyan Blue form. Surprising everyone, Golden Frieza was actually able to overwhelm Goku. Goku was a better martial artist than Frieza, and it seems like the clear winner was set. However, a blast from seemingly out of nowhere forced Goku down to his knees. Sorbet had pierced through Goku's chest. Frieza's eyes widened, and without anything to say, he fired a death beam at Sorbet.
Don't you dare! Don't you dare intervene in this battle! Don't hurt them. Only I can do that.
It was clear to the Z Fighters that Frieza really was dealing with something personal here. But now Goku was down, forcing Vegeta to rush in and help during the battle. But Frieza was losing it. He couldn't focus anymore after what just happened. Vegeta proved to deal with Frieza a lot better than Goku, slowly tearing him down relentlessly. Vegeta barely broke a sweat, but he didn't care if Frieza was just faking his resurrection of evil. He was going to teach him a lesson. The battle culminated with Frieza down on his knees, desperate. Did he not have it in him anymore? Would he always be afraid of the Super Saiyan? The thought of destroying Earth crossed his mind as Vegeta pointed his hand at Frieza. The Emperor encouraged Vegeta to kill him. He wanted to feel as alive as the first time he battled Goku. He thought that only then would he cross the threshold. but his power instead increased to the max. Vegeta had gifted him his energy, similar to Goku and Namek. If it's a real fight he wants, it's a real fight he'll get. Now Frieza and Vegeta both had similar amounts of energy left, ready for their final match. This was it, equals. It was an explosive battle, with Golden Frieza taking multiple blasts, and Vegeta landing several blows. It could be anyone's fight at this point. It all came down to a beam struggle between Vegeta and Frieza, where Frieza was actually able to push back the attack and send Vegeta flying down to Earth. As the smoke cleared, Frieza stood tall. That was it. He finally defeated one of those pesky Saiyans. He could destroy Earth, he could kill them all, but that desire had completely left him. He had proven his worth. He had proven to himself that he does indeed have the capability of surpassing them. That's all he needed. Now he had the golden glow. Others would fear him. He turned to Goku and Gohan and the rest of the Z fighters, saying that he was satisfied with the battle. Bulma couldn't believe that they were just gonna let him go like this, but Vegeta intervened, saying that Frieza knew better than to do anything stupid like that again. If he did want to take over Earth and kill them all, then there would be no one left to challenge him, and that would be no way to live, right? Vegeta had completely figured out Frieza, and though he didn't admit it, he smirked. Frieza apologized for the inconvenience, saying that he had finally found where he belonged in the universe. He expected them to do a lot better next time. He would continue to get stronger as well. It was clear to everyone that Frieza really had changed, but he was still dangerous and unstable. He needed to be kept close. Bulma suggested to Frieza that he could use Earth's desert as a home base, now that he was retired from taking over planets. He still ruled over many, but those planets' lives had changed for the better. Frieza agreed, often staying on Earth with his mother's ship. But many Frieza soldiers still believed in the old ways, including many of the ones that had followed King Cold. Not all of them had perished when Babidi took over, and many more fled Earth after Sorbet's plan failed. Now they scoured the universe for a being to take down Frieza and finish his empire once and for all, beginning a new reign of terror. But for now, peace returned. Frieza was approached by Goku and Vegeta as they were looking for combatants to join in the Universe 6 tournament. Tournaments seemed silly to him, but he agreed. The lineup this time was Goku, Vegeta, Frieza, Piccolo, and Monaka. Similar to the original story, Goku faced off against Botamo, winning easily. But his match against Frost proved to be a problem as the alien punched him out of the arena, surprising everyone. Piccolo was the next person to step up, but still fell to his attacks. Finally, it was Frieza. He had been surprised to see another member of his clan there, but he wasn't impressed. He knew himself too well and didn't believe he was all righteous like he claimed to be.
You know, Frost, I'm many things, but I'm not a liar. At least, not anymore.
Frieza avoided Frost's punches easily as Golden Frieza, taunting his counterpart. This infuriated him, becoming sloppier and sloppier, until finally Frieza grabbed his upper arm and broke it. This shocked everyone, until Frieza explained Frost had been cheating the entire time, grabbing Frost's broken arm and slamming it against his own neck, forcing the poison into Frost. Frost claimed that the poison was a natural occurring part of his body, but Frieza knew this was a lie. The Emperor exclaimed that there is always a different path to take, and honor amongst fighters, something Goku taught him, but Frieza didn't take so kindly to someone tarnishing his clan's name. Even while being poisoned, Frost was victim to Frieza's cruel punishment. Even as a good guy, he was still a savage when it came to fighting. After the battle, Frost was revealed to be a fraud, but Frieza got some ideas from his stories. Perhaps if Frost was an evildoer in this universe, he could be the true hero Kaba believed him to be. Perhaps he could liberate planets like Frost claimed. Just a thought, but first, he had to continue the fights. Frieza faced off against Vegeta, and though the Emperor was stronger, he didn't stand a chance against the heat. He was too distinguished to lower himself to insult his opponent in that manner, but in order to win, he called Vegeta an ugly hunk of junk, and he was able to knock him out of the ring. Vegeta requested to battle Kaba, and Frieza allowed it. Two monkeys fighting, how fitting. He realized that if he had waited long enough to destroy Planet Vegeta, then they would have probably evolved out of their tails. Interesting, maybe he didn't have too much to worry about after all. The rest of the tournament went on as in the original story, with Kaba discovering Super Saiyan, Goku having a great match against Hit, and Monaka being the victor. Hit commented on how Goku seemed to be the strongest one there, but the Saiyan disagreed. Frieza had far more potential than himself, and in a few months, he managed to surpass them all. He was happy to have him by their side. As the tournament ended, Zeno appeared. Frieza couldn't believe it, but this really was the ruler of all. He was honestly a little terrified. Goku asked about a tournament of power, and Zeno said he'd look into it. Frieza was interested in this. He wanted to see just who out there was stronger than him, so he could beat them up. Beerus wished for Universe 6 to be given on Earth, and so peace returned for just a little while, until future Trunks appeared once again, while Goku and Vegeta were training at Capsule Corp. He didn't attack Goku this time. Instead, he yelled at them, telling them that they should have never trusted Frieza, that he knew it. He knew that he should have killed him when he had the chance, as the portal ripped in space and time above them. A figure that looked just like Frieza appearing from it. However, he looked a little different, and he had a much darker ki than any of them had ever felt before. Goku and Vegeta couldn't believe it. He looked just like the Frieza they knew. There was one key difference, however, that this Frieza lacked the writing on his metal plate left from his time as Mecha Frieza. Instead, there was a series of scratches on it. Goku knew that this was not Frieza, and he would kick his ass for it and get to the bottom of this. It was clear during this battle that whoever this was did not have full control over his power. Even if he was strong, he didn't know how to access Frieza's full strength. No Golden Frieza in sight. Goku commented on this, taunting his enemy into transforming, but he had no idea what he could mean. It culminated into Frieza being dragged back through the portal as a distraught Trunks asked Goku what the hell that was. Why didn't he kill Frieza? Goku looked at Trunks sternly, telling him that that man was not Frieza. He wouldn't believe it for a second. Remember, Frieza saved him once upon a time and has helped Earth many times since. But as he said this, even he doubted it. Frieza was still unpredictable, yet he didn't want to believe it. Goku would follow a lead towards Zamasu, just like in the original story, while Vegeta trained with Trunks. But not only that, he also took him to Frieza in the desert. There was some construction going on and Trunks had no interest in seeing him, but Vegeta wanted to make a point. Frieza welcomed the two, but Trunks couldn't help but get angry and attack Frieza. Frieza retaliated, asking him what the hell he was doing. The fight was quick, with Trunks barely able to keep up to his speed. Vegeta burst into Super Saiyan Blue, standing by Frieza, asking if Trunks could see it now. The man he saw wasn't Frieza. The Frieza they knew had changed completely and was much more powerful than the evil one. He could kill him at any moment if he wanted. Frieza cocked an eyebrow. He didn't appreciate being used to make a point, but what was this about another Frieza? Vegeta said that it was nothing for him to worry about, but Frieza insisted on knowing. Why was the future child trying to kill him again? Vegeta explained, and Frieza refused to ignore it. If they were going to face him, then he would come along too. The team made their way to the future, where Frieza came face to face with the one he called Dark Frieza. The villain didn't expect the real Frieza, but promised him to give him a real challenge. Since he last met Goku, he had been working on a new form. Goku had mentioned to him something about a golden form, and he decided to modify that idea slightly, presenting to the world Rose Gold Frieza. The beautiful shine made Frieza a little jealous that he didn't think of that idea first. But if this Rose Gold guy was going to make himself a new form, perhaps he should think of a way to go further beyond as well. But that's for later. First, Frieza rushed in at Black, attacking him with all his might, but the power-up he obtained was too much, even for Golden Frieza. He also fought much more erratically than the Emperor was used to, and he was sent flying into Capsule Corp. Vegeta and Goku went back into the fight, but Black had some backup, Zamasu. He was the one responsible for all of this. Black revealed that he saw the battle against it, and originally wanting to steal Goku's body. But during the match, Goku revealed that Frieza was even stronger, and could get more powerful in a short amount of time. It was obvious then what he would have to do. Frieza wasn't going to sit back and allow this to happen, bursting out of the rubble and back into action. But be it as it might, they are still no match for Zamasu and Black. Trunks tells them all to retreat, to come back with help, and a way to defeat the immortal Zamasu. Frieza argued that he didn't want to run away like a coward, but Trunks smirked, saying that it was his pleasure to at least beat the crap out of Frieza in this universe. He better run before he does it to him as well. Without a choice, Frieza fled with Goku and Vegeta, as Trunks burst into Super Saiyan Rage. They had to try to figure out how to tackle the situation. Frieza wasn't interested in Zamasu, he didn't care about his plan, but Black had the goal to take over his body. That was unforgivable. Luckily, he wasn't the immortal one, so he'd enjoy killing him. He didn't say this to his allies, and simply left for the lookout. Goku and Vegeta wonder what that was about, as they continue to try to figure out a plan, eventually landing on the Mafuba. But just like in the original story, Goku forgets the seal. And as they return to the future, the team's battles are for naught, as although Zamasu is trapped in the Mafuba for a short period of time, the lack of a seal allowed him to be freed. It seemed hopeless for the team, as a bright light appeared behind them. Gowazu and Shin had appeared in the future, but they weren't alone. Frieza was with them. They wondered where he had gone. Frieza explained that he had spent a few hours in the time chamber to do this, but he finally figured out a way to evolve, calling on Shin to help him get to the future. Frieza presented himself in front of Black and Zamasu, with a smirk and a bow, exclaiming,
I present to you a brand new form in honor of you, my dear Black Frieza. I call this Frieza Black.
Frieza's body darkened as his power spiked to the maximum. It was incredible, but unlike the manga, where Frieza trained for quite some time, this Frieza trained for less than a day. So although he reached this form, he couldn't maintain it for long. The fight was a wash, however, with Frieza massively overwhelming his evil counterpart. It was obvious that Frieza could have been victorious. Zamasu asked him just what the hell he was doing, and Black was getting angry. He had no option but to retreat. Frieza was being sadistic, torturing him. Although he hated seeing his own face being hurt, Black was getting angry, much like Frieza gets under stress. This is because, just like Goku Black, Black's body of choice is affecting his own thought process. All he wanted to do was win, and as Zamasu continued to yell at him to get back in there, Black grabbed him, ripped the Potara straight from his ear while he took off his own. Zamasu yelled out in pain as their bodies slammed against one another into fused Zamasu. This being was a grotesque combination of mortality and immortality, Frieza and Zamasu. Even so, Frieza's new form was so powerful as to prove to be a challenge, but over time it began to fail him. He had already been fighting for some time. As Goku watched him sparkle in and out of Frieza Black to reserve ki, it was obvious he wouldn't last much longer in this unstable state. So, as Frieza was finally knocked back and his black state disappeared, a mountain of energy exploded behind him. Vegeta was born. For the first time in this story, Vegeta and Goku put aside their differences to work together, telling Frieza to hang back, and Trunks to get ready for his signal. Trunks had been severely hurt during the match. Looking at his broken sword, something strange began to occur to the sword. As it started to glow, Vegeta continued to beat on Zamasu to the pulp, getting to the point where he was just a deformed being. But just as before, the fusion ended early. This time, however, Trunks was ready, jumping into attack, the Spirit Sword slowly forming overhead. Frieza was impressed. He had no idea this was possible, but he refused to give energy until the very last second, where Zamasu fired a ki ball at Trunks, and the future warrior disappeared. Zamasu laughed, slowly walking towards the heroes, thinking he had finally killed the future warrior. But he heard Trunks scream out his name from behind.
Hey, Zamasu!
Trunks fired a blast, which Zamasu laughed and jumped over, only to be met with Trunks' sword high above him. That's when Frieza gave the last bit of energy he had left to the Spirit Sword, glowing brighter than ever. Zamasu was cut in half, and then into a million pieces, which faded away as Trunks blasted them off. Was it over? Had they finally defeated Zamasu? Trunks smiled at his father and Goku, and then nodded at Frieza. The Emperor smirked. He was glad he wasn't at the end of that sword. In a different lifetime, one where Goku hadn't offered his help, he could have suffered a similar fate. But all the warriors heard something terrifying, an undistinguishable laugh. Frieza's. In the sky, the face of Zamasu and Frieza spread through the universe. It was truly terrifying. Goku was forced to call on Zeno to save them all, and sadly, just like in the original tale, the future was once again destroyed. Trunks had learned that Frieza really had changed, but Frieza felt like it was all for nothing. Trunks told him that that was one of the hardest lessons ever to learn. Sometimes you just can't save everyone. They all returned to the past, where Whis decided to take Trunks into an alternate timeline, while future Zeno stayed behind. Now Goku had a new goal in mind. How would he deal with the Tournament of Power? Frieza and Goku both had the same thought, fist bumping. They were looking forward to it. The showcase matches went on as normal, but with Frieza instead of Buu. He built quite a hatred for those wolves. And once the day of the Tournament of Power arrives, the team ended up being more or less exactly the same as the original, as they wanted to include Buu, but he fell asleep. Instead, Roshi was at it. Frieza did a lot better than in the anime, as he had gotten a chance to further develop his black form and to minimize the strain on his body, though he still couldn't use it for prolonged periods of time. The first person to be eliminated by him was Frost, who actually showed off a new golden form inspired by Frieza. Frieza didn't enjoy the lack of creativity and annihilated his counterpart. The Saiyans from Universe 6 fought against Frieza as well, saying how they found out he was the one to kill the Saiyans from Universe 7. It was time to teach him a lesson. Frieza found it amusing and said that he'd add a few more corpses to the pile, but mostly as a joke. The fight was fun for Frieza, who didn't even use his arms during it. He asked them to show off their Super Saiyan states, but they only had the one to his surprise. Taking this as a chance to make his claims to Trunks and Goten true, he blasted at Kale, thinking it would force a transformation within Caulifla. To his surprise, not only did she not transform, but it was Kale who exploded in power. Frieza was on the receiving end of this pummeling, but he was mostly defending himself, as his black form could easily keep up with the attacks. Gohan saw this. He remembered back to the first time he accepted Frieza and his change. Back then, he would have probably loved to see Frieza in this situation. Frieza was about to transform into his black form to push her off, but he stopped once he saw Gohan and Caulifla approaching them. Gohan told Caulifla that he was similar to Kale once, exploding in rage with no resolve, but that someone special helped him change, his father. Kale clearly cared about Caulifla, so Gohan instructed her in how to calm her down. To Frieza's surprise, it worked, and he thanked Gohan, but he wasn't going to take that attack lightly, and once again went in to attack. Gohan joined in, encouraging Caulifla to push forward. The match was fantastic, but it was clear that Frieza was going to be the victor, until Hit saved the pair of Saiyans by time-skipping Frieza into a blast from Toppo. Goku joined in the battle instead, taking more of a coach figure to them. Frieza and Vegeta teamed up against Toppo, whose incredible God of Destruction mode made everyone shake, but Frieza was sure of his black form as well, and showed it off with pride, and was actually able to finish off Toppo along with Vegeta, claiming that perhaps he'll be the next God of Destruction. Goku still manages to discover Ultra Instinct in battle against Jiren, while Frieza got the rematch against Hit he always wanted, actually using what he learned from Goku's match against the assassin to knock him out of bounds. A lot of the matches are fairly standard affair, but Frieza helps out a lot more, to the point where Vegeta doesn't need to sacrifice himself and give ki to Goku. Frieza still gives Goku some of his energy and even some to Vegeta. As they continue to brawl, one by one they fell. Anilaza, Kefla, Dispo, and more, until the final few contestants were Frieza, Goku, Vegeta, 17, and Jiren. Jiren hated Frieza, proclaiming him to be the one true villain there. He enslaved planets. He didn't care if he had changed. He needed to be punished. Jiren dragged Frieza along the floor, throwing him off the edge. Without being able to fly, it seemed hopeless, but 17 jumps up behind Frieza, opening his barrier to push him back into the arena. Frieza burst into his black state upon landing, destroying the space where Jiren stood. 17 continued to fire blast at Jiren while falling out of bounds, while Vegeta and Goku held on to either side of him as they fell. The two Saiyans let go of Jiren, firing a Kamehameha and a Gallic gun to ensure he fell into the nothingness. And as all three disappeared into the stands, Frieza stood as the sole winner of the Tournament of Power. Jiren tried to scream at Goku and even Zeno that Frieza should not be trusted with that wish, but the Grand Priest shut him up. Frieza thought long and hard about his wish. He could wish to rule the universes, for immortality, to grow 5 centimeters, but none of that seemed enticing to him anymore. He chuckled to himself. Honestly, at this point he just wanted to see the surprise in Jiren's face. But above that, he couldn't help but be excited about the various beings out there in the other universes he could possibly fight. Frieza wished to have all the universes restored, surprising Jiren as he shot a thumbs up to Goku. So, this was trust. The power of Universe 7? Jiren didn't apologize to Frieza, but admitted to himself that perhaps he was wrong. Frieza told him next time he won't be so kind. With the other universes restored, Goku, Vegeta, Frieza, and the rest returned home. Frieza continued developing his building in the desert, the place he originally landed on Earth. He had built something akin to an embassy with a few soldiers that remained by his side, such as Berry Blue, who continued to believe that Frieza was the only fit to rule the universe, no matter what methods he chose. Unbeknownst to Frieza, some of his old soldiers remained. With him having stayed on Earth for so long, there was a vacuum of power. With the soldiers and planets having no emperor, his men looked far and wide until finding a strange power signal on a desolated planet. There, the Frieza soldiers, including new recruits, Chile and Lemo, would find Broly and Paragus. Their power far eclipsed anyone in the Frieza Force, and though they were brought in as soldiers, Paragus used this opportunity to take over the remains of the Empire, with some of the soldiers suggesting that he finds Frieza and take him down as well, as he was a traitor. Unaware of the survival of Vegeta, they instead set their sights on finding and killing Frieza, having heard from some soldiers who had accompanied Frieza to Earth previously that's where he would likely be found. Broly, Paragus, and their army arrived on Earth soon after that, where they quickly located Frieza and his mothership. Frieza was puzzled as he didn't know this person. What he didn't appreciate was his men turning against him. Paragus proclaimed himself as the new emperor and instantly said Broly lose. Frieza couldn't believe it, but this Broly guy was incredible. Where was he when he ruled? Either way, Frieza Black was more than enough to bring him down in his berserk state. With each disappointment, Paragus got angrier and angrier. He pressed the remote control over and over until Broly was screaming in pain. Frieza hated seeing this. He was similar to Kale, and Gohan showed that brute force was no way to control a Saiyan like that. Frieza landed a punch square into Paragus' jaw, destroying the remote by stepping on it.
I had a father like you once, one who used me to continue his empire. I won't let you do that to that boy.
Paragus was shaken, yelling at Broly to attack Frieza now, just as he blasted the alien as well. Frieza simply moved his set to the side and fired a death beam through Paragus at the same time. He warned him. Broly saw this, unleashing his Super Saiyan transformation. Frieza tried to calm him down, but it was no use. He just didn't have the tact that Gohan had. Even so, Frieza faced him head on. He was no longer afraid of the Super Saiyan, transforming into Frieza Black, keeping up with Broly for a while. But he seemed to have endless power. Sensing this, Piccolo contacted Frieza telepathically, where Frieza asks Piccolo to get Goku and Vegeta, as he can't keep up his black form for much longer. Piccolo does as told, and once Vegeta and Goku arrive, Frieza warns them that he is too strong for them. He even suggests the fusion dance. Goku and Vegeta try to fight Broly on their own for a while, but it's clear they can't win. Frieza gets a chance to breathe, before stepping forward and pushing the two aside. Goku and Vegeta take this chance to rush away and practice the fusion dance. Frieza doesn't get completely demolished like in the original, but it's obvious that he can't quite win. Finally, Gogeta returns, and both Frieza and the Fusion stand side by side. Broly burst his ki once more, this time growing into his full power state. Gogeta and Broly slammed against each other, sometimes even trading places with Frieza, who insisted on fighting as well. The fight ended with Frieza raising one finger up, Gogeta lifting his hand, and creating the Death Breaker, a combination of the Stardust Breaker and the Death Ball, completely finishing off Broly as he was out of power. Broly laid on the ground, defeated. Gogeta stepped up to him, smiling and giving him a hand up. Gogeta asked if he had a place to go after this, and Broly shook his head. Frieza, who'd fired one final death beam to destroy the ship from taking off, approached him and told him that he was sorry about his father, but he isn't meant to be a weapon. If he needs somewhere to stay, he's more than welcome to become his personal bodyguard on Earth. His two friends could make some excellent help as well. They really needed more cooks. Broly is extremely reluctant. Frieza had killed his father after all. Chile and Lemo encouraged him to stay. The trio had become friends during their time together. Goku slaps Broly on the back and encourages him to accept. Broly was a little confused about why he looked different from the guy he was talking to before, not realizing what a fusion was. Goku promised that Frieza was a good guy, and that he was excited to see just how his power could grow. With a sigh, Broly accepted. And so Broly, Chile, Lemo, and Frieza remained on Earth. As Broly got used to his new life, his anger towards Frieza started to subside. Sometimes they even trained together, as Frieza tried to get him to control his power. It was strange, but to Vegeta, it seemed like by accepting Broly, he was trying to make amends for the destruction of planet Vegeta. He was effectively making Earth a second planet Vegeta, place where he could live alongside the Saiyans. Frieza's next adventure came in the form of Moro, but he wasn't involved until his force's arrival on Earth. Gohan approached Frieza and Broly about the incoming threat, and they were quick to rush into defend Earth. And so, Moro's forces arrived, Sagambo 7-3 and many others. Frieza was the one to face off against Sagambo and defeat him in battle, but the real threat came once Moro arrived, absorbing Meares' power through 7-3. He effectively had a near-infinite energy source in the form of Broly, whom he continued to drain the power of. But Frieza and Gohan did their very best to stop him. It was a race against time until Goku arrived to continue the battle. Supported by Frieza, Vegeta, and Gohan, Broly was severely injured, but alive. Ultimately, it was Goku's newly trained Ultra Instinct and Vegeta's Spirit Vision which put an end to the evil wizard. Meares was returned, and both he and Jakku thanked everyone. Jakku was terrified of Frieza, but Meares simply thanked him for having stopped taking over planets. Now they were able to go around freeing as many planets as possible from warlords that tried to take them over. None of them as powerful as Frieza. He always knew the Galactic Patrol wanted to stop him but were powerless to do so. But all along they had someone as powerful as Meares. Funny, even when he really thought he was the strongest in the universe, there was always someone out there who could have kicked him to the curb. He wondered if there was anyone else to meet. Surely, to find the next challenge, he would have to go to a different universe now, right? But oh, how wrong he was. Word had gotten around that Frieza was living peacefully on Earth. And just like paragraphs before, the Heaters attempted to fill the hole left behind by his empire. One of their associates, Granolah, proved to be a powerful ally, but a fearsome foe after wishing to be the strongest in the universe. So, a plan was set into motion. Maki, the Heater's sister, traveled to Earth to warn Goku, Vegeta, and Frieza that Granolah had declared himself as the new emperor of the universe and had been terrorizing planets. Meanwhile, Elec told Granolah that Frieza had once again teamed up with the Saiyans to finish the job of destroying planet Cereal. If things went according to plan, then all of their enemies would kill each other in one fell swoop. Frieza was skeptical. He knew the Heaters, and it didn't seem like them to care about some planet. Maki played it off, saying that she doesn't necessarily care about the planet, but rather their little portion and small bit of the planet they owned. Frieza rolled his eyes. Of course they were gonna sell it. When they arrived to planet Cereal, Granolah instantly became aware of their presence. It was crazy. None of them had felt a power like this before. Granolah didn't know where to start, but decided to start with Vegeta. Killing the Prince of all Saiyans would be an appropriate way to get revenge. The two fought, with Granolah being stronger than the one in the original story. After all, Frieza is not in the time chamber, so he is counted in the wish as well. Broly too. Vegeta showed off Ultra Ego and caused quite a commotion, but Granolah had some incredible techniques. Vegeta ended up trading places with Goku during the match. Granolah truly was the strongest, but Ultra Instinct was just as impressive. It seemed like Granolah was going to kill Goku, but the fight was interrupted by Monaito as he told Granolah about Bardock, the man who saved him as a child. Upon hearing the voice of Bardock, Frieza's eyes widened. That voice, that was the voice of the Saiyan who confronted him during the destruction of planet Vegeta. Frieza couldn't help but be snarky about it. He did kill Bardock after all. Frieza, you killed my dad?
Kakarot, you already knew this.
Yeah, but...
So, your dad saved me, but... Frieza, you still gave the order. I'll kill you!
Vegeta stepped in the way, telling Granolah that he's on the same page as him. Frieza killed his family too, but he had since then saved his new family and saved the universe countless of times. He was not the same man, but Granolah wasn't listening. Frieza was taken by surprise as he went flying into a mountain and dragged across the sea. Granolah was trying to drown him, but Frieza fired a blast from his eyes that burned off part of Granolah's face. He was relentless in his attack, but Frieza was enjoying it, even mocking Granolah, saying that he was sure the planet wasn't worth that much. Monaito couldn't blame Granolah. He hated him just as much, but Goku insisted that he had changed for the better. As Granolah was going to fire a sniper shot, both Vegeta and Goku stepped in the way and tried to calm him down, but his shots were too precise and he hit Frieza in various parts of his body, similar to Frieza attacking Piccolo and Namek so long ago. But Frieza was still standing, and he told Granolah that if it wasn't for that little wish, then he wouldn't be able to win. Granolah rushed in again, but Goku slammed him in the face. Vegeta, Goku, and Frieza continued the fight until Granolah was restrained and tired out. Frieza too was panting, finally getting a chance to say,
Will you listen for a second, you idiot? Isn't it obvious? The Heaters have been playing us for fools. You are clearly no tyrannical ruler, and I couldn't get either of these two boneheads to do as I say if I paid them. I'm not here for your planet. They wanted us to kill each other.
That's when the sound of blaster fire was heard. Frieza dodged it just in time, turning back to see Alex standing by Gas, who had grown up after the wish for him too to become the strongest in the universe. Alec realized that there was no way they'd kill each other now, so instead, he'd force Gas to do it. Gas was an incredible fighter, and with both Frieza and Granolah severely hurt, it was up to Goku and Vegeta to take him on, while Monaito healed them. But Alec wasn't about to let that happen. He fighted to kill Monaito. Frieza once again saw a flashback, this time of himself killing Dende on Namek. All of those Namekians he killed, all the Cerealians, his victims. Without a thought, Frieza jumped in front of him, falling to the ground unconscious. In that instant, Granolah sniped Alec, headshot. He quickly turned to make sure Monaito was okay, and then Frieza. He was barely breathing, and he coughed up blood. Monaito would be able to heal him, thankfully. Granolah couldn't believe that the Frieza he hated all these years would be the one to save his father figure. As Goku teleported gas all over, he eventually returned to the planet where Granolah and Frieza stood back to back. Frieza and Granolah put aside their differences and defended the planet. Something they both had in common was how precise their shots were. The two rushed at him, kicking him up to the sky, where Vegeta fired a final flash down to Gas. When Gas tried to recover, he fired multiple blasts in all directions. Goku utilized Ultra Instinct to dodge them all. In swing, Gas up to the sky, where Granolah and Frieza both fired Finger Blast at him, finishing him off for good. But as Gas laid in the crater, he began to move slowly, dying, decaying. He still wanted to kill them all. Frieza told him that he was in no position, and Granolah said that he was dying because of the wish. Gas seemed to be genuinely concerned about this. Frieza even felt bad. He'd put him out of his misery. But before he could, Granolah killed him with one final blast. Goku asked what the hell, but Granolah shook his head. That was no way to live. He hoped that he didn't end up like that as well. The day was saved, and the Z Fighters were ready to return to Earth. But before that, Frieza had one final thing to say to Granolah. He explained that he was sorry, the first time he'd ever said those words. He was sorry about what happened to the Cerealian people, and if it was okay with them and the other inhabitants, he'd be glad to rebuild the area destroyed by the Saiyans and make planet Cereal into a new hub for the universe. The planet had suffered enough because of him. It was time to bring new life to it. Granolah took a second, but he finally agreed, with Frieza smiling. Frieza, Goku, and Vegeta returned to Earth. It seemed like things were calming down from then on. But one night, while Frieza was in his spaceship, Goku went to visit. "So, you killed my father."
I've killed many fathers, Goku. It wasn't personal.
Well, I didn't know him, but I'm gonna kick your butt in his honor. How about a rematch?
About time, Saiyan. I know a place.
Frieza waved Goku into his spaceship and blasted off into space, making their way into a dying planet engulfed by fire. It was a sight that reminded them both of their original fight on Namek. There was no better way to settle the score than here. Frieza started off in his first form and Goku in base. With each punch, they evolved to the next. Frieza kicks Goku into a volcano in his second form. Goku retaliated with a Kamehameha as a Super Saiyan. Frieza tanked it and fired a Death Beam in his third form. Goku teleported behind Frieza in Super Saiyan 2, slamming him down. Once he rose from the lava, he appeared in his final form, while Super Saiyan 3 Goku stared him down. It was truly a trip down memory lane, but there was no grudge this time. Goku and Frieza punched each other in the face at the same time, quickly recovering as Golden Frieza and Super Saiyan Blue respectively. Goku fired a Kamehameha, but Frieza slid over it, something he'd learned from Goku during the fight against Kefla. But Goku had something he hadn't shown in a while. He bent the Kamehameha up and down, still hitting Frieza. Goku rushed forward, slamming Frieza with his leg. Frieza jumped over it, avoiding it after learning his mistakes from Namek. The Emperor fired 2 death saucers at Goku, and just like before, it seemed like he was going to be cut in half. Goku warned him, but Frieza flipped back, avoiding it and still controlling it, so it grazed Goku in the face. The Saiyan was impressed. Both of them had learned so much from each other, but in this final battle, they were no longer mortal enemies, but true rivals. Goku and Frieza both breathed in, unleashing their later states. Frieza Black and Ultra Instinct Goku. Black versus white, yin and yang. Two sides of the same coin. The explosive match was barely able to be contained by the planet as it was seconds away from exploding. Frieza had a hard time hitting Goku, and Goku had a hard time avoiding Frieza. It was perfectly balanced. The fight culminated in a familiar scenario, but flipped. Goku was on the ground and Frieza above. The Saiyan smirked, firing a blue one-handed blast. Frieza saw one final memory of this, the last one that had been bothering him for so many years. This one was of Goku firing the blast that nearly killed him on Namek, but that image faded into an older one of Bardock standing up for his race and firing a blue blast similar to Goku. He made many mistakes in the past, but he was given a second chance by the son of the man who sought to kill him. He wondered, what if he hadn't taken Goku's second chance? What if he continued down his evil path? Would Trunks have killed him? Would he have ever gone to battle Goku again? Those images faded into the real world as Frieza finally fired his own blast. The two collided in the middle as the planet crumbled around them, a bright light consuming the world, and boom! The death of a planet and the birth of another, no doubt, somewhere out there. But none of that mattered to Goku and Frieza as they reappeared on Earth. Goku had teleported them both back. Frieza seemed satisfied with the final battle, but made sure Goku knew that Frieza would have survived the explosion. Goku smiled brightly. The score was settled then. Who won? That was for them to know. But as Goku was going to fly away, the sound of his stomach sounded off. Frieza lifted an eyebrow and actually smiled.
Would you want to come in for a warm meal?
Goku couldn't believe it. Was that a question? Of course! Goku remembered back to when he offered him a warm meal. Frieza walked Goku inside, laughing as of old friends. And so, a few years passed. We now see the World Martial Arts Tournament. Goku and Frieza are both in attendance, arms crossed, seemingly angry at each other. But it wasn't that. They were just on opposite teams. As Pan, Goku's granddaughter, enters the ring, while opposite of her, a sophisticated, snobbish-looking alien stood proudly. They seemed to be about the same age.
On the right! At only 5 years old, we have Pan, the granddaughter of the world hero Mr. Satan, and tournament winner Son Goku. And on the left, we have, if I'm reading this correctly, the Prince of the Universe, son of Lord Frieza, Kuriza. Who will take home the gold? Ready, fight!
Pan and Kuriza rushed into battle, but Goku and Frieza were focused on each other. They both were sure that their respective legacy would win, waiting the next time they too battled it all out. Thank you for watching, everyone. That was What If Frieza Turned Good. It's the first of many future what ifs that I'm thinking of doing, as full stories rather than parts. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this idea, and if you'd like to see stuff like that in the future more. I also released What If Goku Was Betrayed and Trapped in the Time Chamber, the full story, so if you haven't checked that out, then be sure to. As always, I have to give a huge thank you to the Patreons of the channel. If you want to support the channel and help the videos come out faster, then consider becoming a Patreon. Thank you to Angel MR, Jamont, Bourgeois, Seven McCullen, True Lightning Striker, Squad 100, Ghost 1571, PJ9D III, Lee Orchides, Gabriel Scott, Kaiser Jirachi, Jonas Paulus, Orange Bag YouTube, Trent Rolls, D-Man Plays 22, Jim G, Jerome Foster, D Miles, Dakota Kaiser, Keith Grimes, Celestia, Dreadpool, Phil J. Akir, The Baked Potato, and Samuel Randall. Thank you so much for your support. I wouldn't be here without you guys. If you haven't, then consider becoming a Patreon, as you get little perks, like watching videos like this early, and your name shouted out in the credits. Anyways guys, thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and until we meet again, see ya!
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Smugstick, unless you want to be destroyed.
Lord Beerus, that's hardly fair. But also, don't forget to click the bell icon to get notified when he uploads new videos.